I don't feel great about our leaders. I'm not going to lie. I'm disappointed with some aspects of the Trump presidency, for sure. I'm not going to lie. It's grifty. You know, the Trump family is grifty. There's been like story after story about.
That's a lie. Because if that was Obama, oh yeah, they'd be going crazy. They'll be losing their minds.
All the money that his sons are making off of the government, these government contracts they're getting, all that. I can't stand that stuff. I didn't like it when Hunter Biden was doing it, and I don't like it when the Trumps are doing it.
Shut your stupid ass up.
Don't fall for sad Meghan. There was never even a wild accusation about Hunter Biden that comes close to approximating what Trump and his family are doing. But it is an interesting political moment where the MAGA base just cannot launder any more of Trump's brazen corruption. They appear to want to align themselves with voters in the center and on the left who have a big problem with the Trump family's egregious corruption and grift, all at the expense of competent leadership and U.S. national security. Again, for Megyn Kelly's lame attempt at any comparison, as the Free Press puts it, quote, for all the condemnation of the so-called Biden crime family by Republicans, it pales in comparison to what's happening in this presidency. There is no modern parallel for the...
Definitely. With whatever Hunter Biden, they said he did, the money, I mean, first of all, it's not true. Number two, the money, if you were even to just compare the money, it's like pennies compared to what they're making right now. And then it's not like it's Trump alone. It's Trump, first son, second son, third son, and I'm sure Ivanka, Jared, everybody else. So they can just hold there and just cut it, because nobody wants to hear that shit.
Scale and shamelessness with which Trump has enriched himself while in power. We're back with Charlie and Eddie. Charlie, Trump was largely a failure in business. He was rich, yes, but he inherited it from that great reporting. I think he's suing the Times reporters over about the size of his inheritance and how much he lost.
And how much times is this man gonna try to sue somebody? Like, you have so much money, right? You're a winner, right? Why you always suing somebody? Why you always suing somebody? Is it freedom of speech or no? I don't get it. Like, how? Is it good for you but not for nobody else? Like, come on, man. Let's be real. Let's be real.
Because he wasn't a particularly great business person, but the richest he's ever been, the most money he's ever made, are the 15 months he's been back in office as America's president. He's made $2 billion.
And that's telling. Like, the most money he's ever made is since he's been president. What does that say? Like, what does that say? Oh, man. Some of these people who follow this guy and agree with everything that he says, buys everything that he sells, you know, it's just crazy to me.
If only Megyn Kelly had been warned about all of this. And you know, earlier we were discussing the U.S. Supreme Court decision immunizing him. I mean, Donald Trump is basically acting as someone who will never face accountability. But you know, when Eddie was talking about, you know, was in the last segment, was talking about, you know, the attack on truth, I was reminded of Gary Kasparov's quote. You know, the point of modern propaganda is not only to misinform or push an agenda, it is to exhaust our critical thinking, to annihilate truth. what Trump is also doing is annihilating a sense of ethical norms, the sense that everybody does it, that the grift is so outrageous, it is so in public. And basically he's shrugging his shoulders when he said, I found out that nobody actually cared about. This is what he is doing. He is not only feeding the distrust of all institutions, feeding the distrust of all information, but feeding this sense of distrust that there are any ethical standards, any morality that we ought to hold the president to. And so the grift is out there. It is who he is. I agree with you that it is breaking through. This is one of those moments where the voters have to ask themselves, is he on your side? Is he looking out for you, or is he looking out for himself?
Yeah, and that's the truth. That's exactly why Thomas Massey is pointing out even the money that they're sending to Israel. Go and check my video. It's going to be out on Thursday. Yeah, it's going to be out on Thursday, where all that money that's being sent to Israel, that could have been used to make America great, couldn't it? Like, I thought it was all about America, like taking care of America, helping the people of America, giving back to America, making it great again. Isn't that what that is? Oh, man, you fooled me once, fooled me twice, and fooled me again. Now it's about making all the rich people great, making Trump and his family great. It's not about the people anymore because you're already in the presidency. You don't need them anymore, right? So you don't care. Now it's time to take care of your family. Now you're making more money than you've ever made. That's crazy.
Every single day, we are seeing exactly what Donald Trump is most concerned about, which is self-dealing.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie, I wondered, I spent an inordinate amount of time wondering why the corruption of the first term didn't bother people so much. And I'm not sure I've come much closer to figuring it out. But the truth is, it is, one, registering, two, coinciding with a period of near historic economic despair, anxiety, and bad feelings about people's personal economies and the cost of everyday items. And Trump's indifference is sort of the third piece of that three-ring circus. How do you see this playing out in our politics?
Well, I don't quite know how it's going to play out in our politics. We've been talking about for a while now, Nicole, the various components of Donald Trump's coalition. We talked about the Bannon side and the Musk side and how the populist wing would call into question the billionaire class, the oligarchs. And it seems to me that populist wing is rearing its head. I mean, I don't know, I won't use the word grifty to describe what Donald Trump is doing. I mean, it's outright theft in so many ways. But what we're seeing are the kind of fraying edges of that coalition. Now, the question will become, how does that manifest itself politically? There's a lot of ways in which our political identities are baked in to how we understand ourselves existentially. So it doesn't mean that they're going to critique Donald Trump's grift and suddenly they're going to vote for Democrats. They might just simply opt out of the process. And so I don't know what to translate as politically, but I do know this, that the populist wing of Trump's coalition is on the way to being in full revolt, given what they're seeing and witnessing.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, with Megyn Kelly and probably I would say Fox News, and whenever you see them come out and admit certain things that Trump is doing, all of a sudden now they're like, oh, we don't like this. Or why is he doing this? That's where they start to question him. But that's because at that point they're realizing, or all the things that they ignored, now they're seeing results that is not favorable to the GOP, not favorable to Trump. So now they're trying to pull back and try to find things to gain, what's the word? To gain back the trust of the people, to try to pull people back and look at them as credible. The truth is they're not credible. They lie, 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 and look at everything opposite of what it really is. So,
I mean, and that's the X factor, because the members of that wing are largely up for grabs. They were the people that were sort of that stripe are also against the forever wars. And they have been betrayed over and over, made fools of. So it's a real test of what they do in the midterms and the next presidential.
We begin today's show with the stunning windfall President Trump has made during his first year back in the White House. New filings show that Trump made more than $2.2 billion last year, most of it fueled by cryptocurrency profits, but with a significant rise in profits across his real estate business and other family investments, and his legal settlements with media giants like ABC News, Paramount, and Meta. The mandatory financial disclosure report released Tuesday shows Trump made at least $1.4 billion from his family's cryptocurrency ventures. That includes $635 million for Trump-branded cryptocurrency meme coins and $590 million from the Trump family's World Liberty Financial crypto business.
look at him. Look at all of them. Meet our team. There's Trump. There's Eric Trump. There's Donald Trump Jr. There's even Barron Trump. You know, and I mean, come on, this is crazy. You know, let Obama had done this, you would hear Trump and every other Republican complaining, trying to overturn and throw him out. That's what they would be doing. That's what it's like. What now? All of a sudden, nobody's saying nothing. Everybody's quiet. Even all of them are probably making all this money. Marjorie Taylor Greene was making a whole bunch of money. But once the Epstein's file came out and he called her and tell her, "You'll be hurting my friends," she was like, "What?" And everything took a big turn. But I digress. This is my thing. The money has, they look at the fact that he's not getting paid for this presidency. Who wants that chump change? That's chump change compared to all the money he's making right now. How much billion? How much billionaires do we have in the US? Like, that's crazy. And he just made it since he's been president, more than he's ever made before he came president. Oh man, you guys.
Meanwhile, roughly 2/3 of investors in the president's meme coin have reportedly lost money as he made a fortune. As the backlash grows over Trump's windfall profits, including criticism from the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, and Fox News, specifically Trump's defenders usually, Trump defended how he's profited from the presidency while speaking to reporters Wednesday.
Critics say you're profiting off the presidency, Mr.
Well, you know why I'm profiting? Because the stock market's going up. Everybody's profiting. If you have a 401k, how's your 401k?
Yeah, you have a 401k? Yeah, you're profiting. What? That's not the same thing. Because whether or not you as the president, her 401k would probably still be profiting. So that's not what we're talking about.
Done. It's about up 85%. Thank you, President Trump.
He wants praise. Thank you, President Trump. What? Dude, what you're making compared to everybody else is nothing. And you don't even care because you're just trying to change the subject instead of focusing on what she really asked you. But
President Trump was speaking to reporters before boarding the new Air Force One, a Boeing 747 jet donated to him by the Qatari royal family, reportedly at a cost of $400 million. Trump plans to keep the jet after leaving office, saying he'll donate it to his presidential library. Democrats have accused him of receiving a foreign emolument, or bribe, which is prohibited under the Constitution. While the bulk of President Trump's profits in 2025 were driven by cryptocurrency, he also earned another $575 million.
I personally think when he leaves office, they need to do something with that plane. Don't allow him to take that plane, honestly. And all of a sudden, he has a library that he's going to put the plane in. Oh, okay.
From his real estate holdings. That includes over $200 million from Trump National Doral and Mar-a-Lago, as well as earnings from licensing deals overseas, including in Saudi Arabia and Qatar, countries vital to U.S. foreign policy interests.
Growing concerns over the president's conflicts of interest come as a new report from MS Now finds the president's two eldest sons, Eric and Donald Trump Jr., are linked to investments in at least 10 military companies that have drawn about $3.7 billion in federal funds since the start of the second Trump administration. Meanwhile, President Trump's son and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick stand to see a big windfall after businesses tied to the families helped secure a $1.6 billion mining deal in Kazakhstan, according to a report in the New York Times. For more on all of this, we're joined in London by Reuters investigative journalist Tom Bergen. He's the author of the book Free Lunch Thinking: How Economics Ruins the Economy. His most recent investigative piece is headlined Parsing the Trump's Crypto Profits, Investors' Losses. Welcome to Democracy Now!, Tom. Why don't you parse it out for us? And especially for people who don't understand the whole crypto issue, explain what it is and how this family, the Trump family and his allies, has profited so much.
Thank you, Amy. It's good to be on the show. The first thing I'd say is that the comments from the president aren't really accurate insofar as that he says that he has made money because the stock market has gone up. None of the gains which we reported upon, as others have, that are contained in these documents, refer to gains from selling stocks or bonds. This is all entirely money that is cash that has come into the accounts of his businesses from the operating businesses. And as you mentioned, what has become the most strongly performing new business is the cryptocurrency area. And of course, this is an entirely new business. And so what we've seen is that the areas in which Donald Trump has seen an enormous increase in his income. And this is not an increase in his wealth, it's an increase in cash coming in. We looked at this last year, we analyzed how it had gone up, and it was, even before we saw this huge surge of income, it had gone up dramatically. So it's new businesses or businesses that are connected in some way to the presidency, which is to say, when we look.
See, and that's what his base will tell you. Oh, he's always been a businessman. Okay, so what? Then he should have stayed a businessman. Like, if you were making so much money, why didn't you just continue making money? You don't care about the American people. What are you doing for them now? Nothing. And he said it. He don't care. He don't think about the people when he's making his decisions. And they'll make an excuse and be like, yeah, why should he care? What? Why should he care? Yeah, he should have stayed in his businesses and make his money there, But, they want to deflect and just try to claim that he was already a businessman. He was making money. This is his own money. No, it's not. No, it's not. And there's plenty, this is London people who is saying this. This isn't even U.S. They have nothing to gain from saying this. What do they have to gain? Nothing.
At the golf clubs that have performed very well, it seems to be ones like Mar-a-Lago has gone up 50% increase in revenue, West Palm Beach up 27%. Places where he spends a lot of time as president have done especially well. But the crypto is really just the blowout one altogether. And in particular, this business, World Liberty Financial. The business sells digital tokens that have no intrinsic value. They have no real function beyond as a method for speculation. You can buy one in the hope that you can sell it to someone else at a higher price. As such, it's a zero-sum game. President Trump's gains from selling these tokens have been mirrored almost identically by the losses on the part of the people who have purchased these coins. So it's either if it's the World Liberty Financial token or the meme coin, the people who have bought these, we've seen a over 90% drop in the price, or 97% drop in the price from the peak there. So this is a business that basically you sell tokens that have no cost to manufacture. In the crypto business.
So what they're saying, the tokens have no value. They're buying it. And while Trump is making all this money off of it, everybody else is losing money. How these people, you just follow everything this man does and think because he's making money, you're going to make money. It's a tactic. It's a strategy. That's why all these international people are probably buying all that stuff. And then what? And then just trying to get a meeting with him. And, that's how they buy into getting pardons and deals and all this stuff that makes him all this money. It's not, you can't really track it. You can't really say certain things. So easy.
When you want to sell tokens, the high cost tends to be in getting people's attention. And that's why in the past, when people have launched cryptocurrencies, they've hired movie stars and sports stars to get people's attention. Of course, the Trump family have the ability to get people's attention in an unheard of way. They've got the best possible marketing tool, namely the presidency.
Right.
So it's been an incredibly successful period for the Trump family in this new business. This is important to say. It's a business that was registered weeks before the 2024 election, and which really.
What's going to happen when he gets out of the presidency? We're going to see what that token does. We're going to see. Yeah.
Didn't start to take much revenue in until the election happened. So this is something that has really been a 2025 blowout year for the Trump organization on the back of businesses that have benefited very much from his links, his position as president.
And also, Tom, just to put it in the context, in relative terms, in orders of magnitude, he declared, these disclosures show that his income more than tripled what it was in the previous year. So if we could talk a little bit more about the conflicts of interest this raises. As the New York Times pointed out, Trump is a major crypto industry operator and also its top policymaker. And also Trump earlier said that he himself condemned crypto, saying that Bitcoin was a scam and saying cryptocurrency was potentially a disaster waiting to happen.
Yes, the first thing I just say, just to slightly correct that, it's far more than a 3 times increase in his income. Some of the revenues have gone up in some of the businesses, maybe 3 times, but across the piece, it's far more than a 10 times increase in income for the Trump organization. In terms of the regulatory side of things, the White House is very clear. There are no conflicts of interest. President Trump is only concerned about the American public and acts in their interest. Nonetheless, these are businesses that really, they didn't exist before this, and it's quite difficult to see how they would have existed in their current form in a different situation, under a different president.
Right. If he wasn't president and he started it just prior to the election, and what they're basically saying is, if he had started it way before the election, you'd have seen the difference in how sales or how he would have done when he wasn't president. So they kind of already knew or had an idea how they was going to utilize this and make money off of it. I think personally, this is my opinion, but yeah, that's crazy.
So, for example, the sale of crypto tokens like the World Liberty Financial Token, or indeed the meme coin, this was treated from a regulatory perspective under the Biden regime as being the sale of securities. Consequently, it was quite difficult to engage in that activity, certainly in the United States. And that's why we saw really the end of the coin offering boom in the late 2010s, so around about 2019, actually under the first Trump administration. It was the first Trump administration that clamped down on the sale of digital tokens for vast sums of money. So it's definitely the change in regulatory situation has definitely benefited.
And if we could speak about one of the deals in particular, the deal signed between Eric Trump and the Emirati Tahnoon bin Zayed. Soon after this deal was signed, the UAE was granted access to U.S. artificial intelligence chips. What is the significance of this particular agreement?
It's pay for play. Pay for play, I tell you.
Well, according to World Liberty Financial, there is no significance. This is a entirely commercial transaction, unrelated to anything else. I think what we do see is when Eric Trump or his brother travel around the world, or indeed actually just some of the officials of World Liberty Financial travel around the world to places in the Middle East, Pakistan, wherever, they do get treated incredibly well by the authorities there. They get meetings with senior people. So as I say, the company said there's no connection, but it is also interesting when we look at that particular deal, and you have to look at what was being bought, $500 million being given for a company that really didn't have much by way of an income flow. So it was quite difficult, and that's because what was sold there was not the right to the revenue from selling tokens. It was to a separate business. So it wasn't a business that had a lot of intrinsic value. So it was quite surprising, just for me as somebody who studied the business model of that business in quite a forensic way, just to understand why someone would spend $500 million for that stake. But as I said, there's a denial on the part of the White House and World Liberty Financial that that's in any way linked.
What else are they going to do? They're going to deny it. They're not going to admit any illegal or, any thing that just looks wrong. So we all see that. It's all right. Well, actually, it's not all right. But we understand. We see what's going on.
To the decisions with respect to the UAE.
And what about the fact some have said that this disclosure doesn't in fact reveal other sources? In other words, there are some sources of income that Trump has had that are not included in this document. Is that right?
Well, to be clear, what we're looking at here is with respect to the cryptocurrency income. Donald Trump has reported cryptocurrency income which he has received into his company's bank accounts. So this is not to say, this is not an accrual type accounting mechanism which is recording everything that he is entitled to. Under the documents governing World Liberty Financial, there are descriptions there of to the entitlement that the Trump family have with respect to token sales, and they get a significant share of those. So we know that business continues to hold within its large amounts of funds. So we had estimated that Donald Trump and his family had made considerably more from World Liberty Financial that has been reported in this. just over 500 million in proceeds from token sales by World Liberty Financial is disclosed in this document. We estimated that it was considerably more than twice that number. And the truth is, standing here today or sitting here today looking at those documents, I'm not sure that we were wrong, because we don't know how much else accrued to Donald Trump in 2025 and 2024 from the operations of World Liberty Financial, because we've received no accounting for that. So like most things in crypto, we don't really see a lot of what's going on here. We don't.
That's why it's easy to use. That's why they, first he wasn't into crypto. He didn't care about crypto. He didn't think it was good. But now he found a way to utilize it to his benefit. So I love crypto all of a sudden, right? Man, these people, they slick. But we need accountability. And that's the biggest thing. We definitely need a lot of accountability.
Have transparency as to who's buying these crypto tokens, and we don't really see where the money's flowing or how much is being paid.
And Tom, go beyond crypto and overall put this in a global context. The idea of an elected leader of a country making billions of dollars along with his family and his close allies and their families, like Witkoff and his sons, Lutnick and his sons. I mean, everything from you have MS Now, a report that just came out just over a week after U.S. and Israel forces struck Iran in February. A publicly traded Florida golf course company announced an unusual plan, a reverse merger to take a barely one-year-old drone startup public. Donald Trump and Eric Trump, the two sons, were part owners of the golf course company. Now they're backers of the drone startup. And then you have, Trump's legal settlements with companies like ABC, CBS, Meta, YouTube, making $80 million as he sues the media. There's Trump National Doral, $121 million. Trump Tower Chicago, $39 million. And the foreign real estate investments. And his sons following in the wake of where the so-called peace envoys go, and people seeing it from the outside. I mean, even you have the conservative Wall Street Journal editorial board, the New York Post editorial board, even Fox raising these issues of the family just raking in a level we have not seen before. Compare it to other countries in history.
And they're not even hiding it because they know they have the support of the GOP. The GOP is not holding them accountable. They're making it look like it's transparency, and it's not. It's just blatant corruption. And I mean, that's why they want to win the midterms, because they know if Democrats win the midterms, all of that stuff is going to be changed. They're gonna be held accountable, and that's why they're screaming fraud, election fraud, no matter what. Once we lose, election fraud. I'm telling you, wait for them to lose and watch him complain about fraud elections. Now, if they win and they're in control, let's see if he still focuses on the Save America Act. Let's see if he still focuses on the elections. Let's see if he just diverts and go back to business as normal.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to find comparators for anything. I mean, just within the Trump family, it's difficult to find comparators. So what I mean by that is the Trump sons did not face they were not being appointed on a repeated basis to the boards of outside companies in the years before the second Trump presidency, or indeed the first Trump presidency. So they were not, so far as we could see, they're not sought out partners. They don't have experience in any of these businesses. It's not entirely clear what they're bringing to this apart from their brand. You mentioned there in terms of precedents. Obviously, in the US, there's no precedent of this. But I think that if you're looking more broadly, there's not a precedent either. So we've seen billionaires before in politics. This has happened in the Czech Republic, it's happened in Ukraine, it's happened in Italy with Silvio Berlusconi. But what we haven't seen before is someone coming in and they're into a leadership position and their family starting a new business, which is intimately impacted by the position of the presidency for regulatory and other reasons, and then making over $1 billion. That's not something that we've seen in the Western world. I've looked.
Yeah, because there are conflicts of interest. And when it comes to the federal government, you can't have conflicts of interest. But Trump is not following any route. He's just doing what he wants. All the things that the previous presidents did to avoid being looked at as corrupt and, all of that stuff. Even Hunter Biden, not, he tried to work and do whatever business he was doing apart from anything related to his dad. But yet they're still claiming that there was uh, all this money he was making and stuff, selling a painting. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. It don't make any sense to me. But it doesn't matter because they make everything sound however they want it to sound for their base. So
Around, I couldn't find any example of that. So whatever way you look at this, it's quite unusual. Precedent geographically or over time, it's truly quite unusual, and it does. Obviously, as I said, the Trump organization say there are no conflicts of interest, that the company has always done deals overseas. Well, the truth is it did do deals overseas, but they'd rather fizzled out come about 2016. And after the second presidency, even after they lifted the self-imposed moratorium on foreign deals, there wasn't a rush of people to come and do deals in 2021. What we saw was that in 2024, a significant pickup in these deals in the second half of the year as President Trump was nearing the 2024 election. And then we saw a huge explosion in those deals thereafter. So we're seeing a significant increase in income in areas that have some linkage to the presidency, if it just be about his brand being lifted. But also we are seeing, quite interestingly, the places where his brand attracts the most developer interest seems to be in the Middle East. So we see new deals in Qatar and Dubai, yielding tens of millions of dollars in the Middle East. So that have benefited the president.
And Tom, very quickly before we conclude, what is unquestionably illegal here, and what can Congress do?
Well, nothing's unquestionably illegal until a judge rules in it. And I think, I've reported on enough complex regulatory laws in the past. But what's interesting is there are so few guardrails here with respect to a president. Right. So you mentioned the foreign emoluments clause. That's not something that's been widely tested, so we don't know about its limits or otherwise. But so many of the rules that would exist with respect to appointed officials or other elected officials do not apply to the president. So it's quite difficult to, if there was any desire for anyone to hold them to legal account, there isn't really a legal account. And indeed, that's something that Elizabeth Warren has drawn some attention to, that maybe there should be some revision of the rules there with respect to the guardrails on a president.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now!
Yeah. I mean, there's no guardrails. The Republicans don't care as long as they're getting their cut. And he has the Supreme Court in his pocket, so why would he even worry right now? Well, that's why the midterms are going the way it's going, and that's why he's in fear. So, guys, we got to come together and make sure that we hold this president accountable, because even the ones who realized that he lied and he doesn't care about the American people, because I'm sure a lot of you see all the things that he's doing. So let's make sure we hold them accountable and bring the truth out. You know, I'm sure that's what you guys want, because we want things to be run the right way, but we'll see, because these people believe everything this man says. So thank you for watching. Until next time, have a good night.